Yet another casualty of Russia's invasion of Ukraine is the collaboration among Arctic states, which includes Russia. But since China has interests in the Arctic, this does present an opportunity to distance China from Russia. Jeremy Greenwood is a federal executive fellow with the Brookings Institution. He's also a commander for the U.S. Coast Guard. Jeremy, welcome to the program.
Good morning, Mimi. Thank you for having me.
So what's the Arctic Council, and what's the significance of it suspending its operations in light of Russia's invasion of Ukraine?
Well, the Arctic Council was really the premier intergovernmental organization designed for pan-Arctic diplomacy and governance. It was Arctic governance for the Arctic, by the Arctic. It included indigenous communities and all 8 Arctic states. It really was a truly cooperative organization that was consensus-based. So with Putin's illegal invasion of Ukraine, that obviously presents a massive problem, particularly because Russia currently holds the chairmanship until May of 2023 of the Council. And that made it absolutely unsustainable to continue their operations. The chairman sets the agenda for the organization and sets the tone for the work. And there's no way we could sit in collaboration during this current ongoing war.
So what is China's interest in the Arctic? Because they don't actually border the Arctic, so they're not considered an Arctic state. And they also have something called the Polar Silk Road.
Absolutely. Well, they're absolutely not an Arctic state. That is correct. What my co-author and I, Xushen Liao, tried to do was analyze some of China's interests in the Arctic, which I think are well known. Primarily, it's economic. They're looking at hydrocarbons, technology, future shipping routes in the Arctic. A lot of that depends on Russia, which has the longest coastline in the Arctic. Of course, China also has scientific and environmental reasons for being in the Arctic. We know that the Arctic is warming at 2 to 3 times the rate of the rest of the planet, and that impacts China just like it impacts all of us. And so they do have some legitimate interest in the Arctic. We also have to be careful because they also have, dual use and dual purpose to their long-term plans that we need to be conscious of.
So how does Russia view Chinese involvement in the Arctic?
I think largely it's a marriage of convenience, as we say in our article. It's really a investment. The Russians need Chinese investment. The Chinese want Russian hydrocarbons, and they want future access to melting ice is opening up new sea routes across the Arctic in the not near term, but very close to intermediate term future that I think China wants to expand into. That's what the Polar Silk Road is all about, is opening up new trade routes between Asia and Europe and, of course, Russia.
So how should the U.S. take advantage of that to, as you say in your article, be a wedge between China and Russia?
Yeah, so I think we have a real opportunity here. Obviously, we wrote the article before the massacres of Bucha and these other horrors that are coming out recently in the news, which I think opens up the door even further to drive a wedge here. China needs stability. They know that the Russians view them with suspicion. We know that the Russians do not welcome Chinese overwhelming or internationalizing the Arctic. The Russians want to be in control of their Arctic. And so we do have an opportunity to focus them on responsible, transparent investment in the Western Arctic states. So remember, the other 7 Arctic states are all U.S. allies or partner nations. And so we do need to view it with a healthy dose of skepticism and make sure we're being, clear-eyed about what Chinese purposes are. But I think there's a way to use those investments in a responsible manner that also takes away some of the power from Russia and their carbon blackmail that they're using in the north in their Russian Arctic.
You had mentioned hydrocarbons before, so I wonder what the role the Arctic plays in the global energy market and the sanctions on Russia.
So it's going to have a massive effect for Russian energy projects. These were huge projects that were actually multinational. It wasn't just all Chinese investment. There's South Korean investment. There's investment from other Asian states and other Western partners. These are highly risky, drilling operations subject to a lot of climate change factors that I think in the long term probably won't prove to be profitable. And so there's a chance to really wean the world off of these hydrocarbons that we know are damaging to the Arctic, but at the same time, maybe encourage more responsible investment in some more friendlier hydrocarbon countries that are closer aligned to global interests, let's say.
Well, speaking of the climate, there is a lot of environmental and scientific research that goes on in the Arctic. Won't that be a setback at a time when we really can't afford delays in climate action?
Truly, Mimi, I think that's the biggest loss of the Arctic Council in the short term. I think there was some amazing work going on. We have a dedicated team of Foreign Service and Civil Service officers at State OES Bureau, the Coast Guard, NOAA, Department of Energy, Interior, across the interagency, that were working with their partners across the other 7 Arctic nations on some really cutting-edge research, some exploratory projects that were going to look at the way climate change was affecting the rest of the globe. And it affects every single nation on Earth, what's happening in the Arctic. And so to me, that's the greatest loss of this cooperation. So I truly hope that we do find a way to navigate this new reality without accepting the illegal behavior of Putin.
And finally, Jeremy, how does this all impact the U.S.? What are you really recommending for U.S. policymakers?
So we don't have all the answers. This is a difficult problem. We know that. But we know that China is going to continue their interest in the Arctic. They're not going away. And they do have some legitimate interest in a future in the Arctic and a role in Arctic exploration and investment. And so we need to nourish that. So what we recommend is that policymakers in the long term, the strategy thinkers, I know this isn't number 1 and 2 on the administration's priority right now, nor should it be. But we need to be thinking long term about how we can responsibly leverage Chinese investment, keep it transparent, keep it under local control, and make sure we know what it's doing to ensure China's playing by the rule book, at the meantime, weaning them away from Russia.
All right. Well, Jeremy, thank you. I appreciate you joining us today.
Thank you so much, Mimi. Appreciate the honor.
Coming next, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a drone. How the U.S. can disable unsafe or illegal drone activity around airports and crowds. You're watching WJLA 24/7 News. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out on any future Government Matters interviews.